collective bargaining. How many of you have heard of case or streeter? Consolidated case.
Yeah.
All right. The Postal Service is implementing this test, and it's going to be implemented in 3 phases. The first phase started in Annandale, Virginia, May the 18th. They're going to start out in 240 cities across the United States. The second phase they're going to be implementing this month, and the third phase will be implemented in August. And to try to quickly make it as simple as possible, what it is, basically they've consolidated various cases in these offices, and this is what the plan is and how it's supposed to work. The office in Annandale, for example, they have 40 routes. They abolished 2 of the routes, and they use core to adjust the other 38 routes. All of the carriers no longer had the territory that they had prior to these adjustments. And the way it's set up is 6 carriers come in at 5:30 in the morning, and each of them case 6 routes. Don't laugh. Seriously, they case 6 routes. The first 3 set of routes come in. They come in at 5:30. They have casing on the streeters, and they haven't determined how they pick who does the casing yet. They just randomly pick people in the office that do the casing. They come in at 5:30. The first set of carriers come in at 8:15. When they walk in the door, all of their mail is cased, pulled down, and then they're hampered, and they're on the street a minimum of 7 hours and 45 minutes. The second set of carriers, the second 3, they come in at 9:15. Same thing, they walk in the door, all of their mail is pulled down, loaded into their hamper. All they do is load it into their vehicle, and they're on the street again, a minimum of 7 hours and 45 minutes. Initially, it was a lot of chaos when they started out because you had carriers learning their new routes. The casers are learning new cases. But as the time has gone on, they're working out a lot of the bugs. A lot of people don't think it's going to work, but there are those who do think it's going to work. If the Postal Service changes the processing process, for example, if they were to tell a plant, whatever you have at 1 or 2 a.m. processed, you get that out to these cities where they got the case of streeters, it very well could possibly work. Sad thing is you got a lot of carriers that were on these decent routes that they felt would carry them out to retirement for the next 3 to 5 years or whatever. They no longer have those routes. So a lot of them are putting in their retirement papers. And if this process somehow works itself out, they estimate we can lose up to 20% of the bidding routes of the workforce and the carrier workforce nationwide if it does, and it'll work out. Amazon. Amazon has been opening up distribution centers around the country, particularly in the area where there are high population, high concentration of the population. They're basically trying to establish their own delivery workforce. They have their own vehicles. They're hiring more and more employees. They're actually trying to contract out these employees, become contract employees. It's having a dramatic effect in the areas that they're opening these processing plants. For example, in South Jersey, it's affecting Delaware area. Actually, it could potentially affect you guys because they've lost anywhere from 38 to 64% of their parcel volume. The regular carriers don't have 8 hours of work on their routes. So the CCAs that have hold downs, they're taking those and splitting them up and giving them to the regular carriers. Their plan is to eliminate a lot of the CCA workforce. They're right now, they're in the process of doing 6 to 8 count inspections. They plan on eliminating quite a few routes in the South Jersey district. If that does happen, you could potentially end up with Article 12 withholding kicking in, which could potentially affect Annapolis because you're in fairly close distance with the Eastern Shore. So those are the kind of things that are going on right now that we're looking at trying to deal with at the national level. As far as the legislative part that it goes, the current administration put out a report last year on the Postal Service, and they made several proposals to try to change some of the benefits that we have, which they've calculated over the course of 30 years of retirement could end up costing the average letter carrier about $260,000 based on the loss of the different benefits. For example, right now the Postal Service pays 72% of your health benefits. They're proposing that the Postal Service pay what the other federal agencies pay, which is about 68%, which will cost the average letter carrier about $3,600 a year. They're proposing to eliminate COLAs for the retirees and the active letter carriers. They propose to eliminate the supplement, where if you retire at age 57, you get a supplement up until age 62 until your Social Security kicks in. They're proposing to eliminate that as well. They're proposing to change the retirement calculation from your high 3 to your high 5, which will potentially cost you a couple of $1,000s a year. All of these proposals could potentially add up to about $12,000 cut in your salary as it currently stands. So I behoove all of you, if you're not contributing to the Letter Carrier Political Action Fund, consider doing so. We're only asking for $5 a pay period. This is our coffer that we established, our war chest, that allows us to go before Congress or our congressional representatives and try to get them to support legislation that's favorable to the letter carriers and to fight or oppose legislation that's unfavorable. We contribute to Republicans, Democrats, and Independents. Our primary thing is what supports letter carriers. So, hopefully I didn't spoil your evening.
So you got any good news?
But I wanted to do that before we handed out the pens. Maybe that'll cheer you up. But seriously, we have some serious challenges that we're facing. Serious challenges. But all is not doom and gloom. The guys that are getting the 50-year pens were around in 1970 when the letter carriers went on strike. When we stood up to the Postal Service, fighting for the benefit to negotiate our collective bargaining agreement. And we need to look at that as an example of how we deal with today's issues, because today's issues are just as difficult, maybe a little bit more than back at that time in history. But, you know, thank you guys for what you did, the example that you laid out for us, and we'll try to use that as much as we can to deal with the challenges that we're dealing with today.
Okay, I'm going to read all the names of the people who are getting 50-year pins in our local. Some of them couldn't make it here, and one guy moved to Georgia, so he asked me to send his. He wasn't coming here. Joseph L. Carroll, who is Larry Carroll to most of us. He couldn't make it this evening. If you're here, please come up, and we'll have your pin and gold card presented. Richard Cordell.
Zeta.
Harrison Cully.
Zeta.
Yeah.